Hi, I'm Darlene, and you're probably looking at this because you're very interested in learning how to draw. And you've gone into the art supply store and there is this huge selection of pencils and charcoal and papers, and there's a whole different language involved and specifications of different types, and it's very confusing and it's all very expensive. So you want to make sure that you get something that you really want to work with and that's going to feel right for you. Sometimes people have been drawing for quite a while and they still don't know what the difference is between a B pencil and an H pencil. So today I'm going to go over with you a little bit about how to tell the difference between all the pencils and papers that are out there. We're going to start with paper. First of all, let me tell you that you don't have to go out and buy expensive materials. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't learn to draw with copy paper and a regular old No. 2 pencil, just like you use in school. You can use these materials to get started drawing and it won't cost you anything, and you can get a lot of good results out of it. So please don't feel like you've got to spend money to learn how to draw. Papers come in different surfaces and weights and textures. So the lightweight sketch paper that you might get in an inexpensive sketch pad has got a very smooth surface. It's probably labeled as being good for charcoal or pen or pencil. It's an all-purpose paper. It's inexpensive, but it's not quite so different from the copy paper. So if this is what you're going to choose, you might as well just get copy paper and use that. It's less expensive. A heavier weight sketch paper is going to have a little bit more bulk to it, and it's going to be a little bit more textured, and paper is gauged by weight. So copy paper might be like a 20-pound paper, and a heavier sketch paper might be 70 or 80 or 100-pound paper. So the higher the weight of the paper, the thicker the paper, the heavier it is, the better it will hold up. And you can also look for words like archival and those kind of terms that will let you know that when you are doing really finished quality drawings, that the paper's not going to disintegrate before your drawing does. But for practicing, you don't need to worry about those things. Just use medium weight paper, like a 60 to 70-pound paper, copy paper, or one of my favorites is grocery bags. Grocery bag paper is nice and heavy because it's got to hold a lot of weight, and it's got a nice texture on it. And in the art world, that's called tooth, when you can rub the paper like you're familiar with the texture of a brown bag, and it's got a texture, and that helps hold a lot of pigment, whether you're using pastel or a soft drawing pencil or charcoal. A harder smooth surface like copy paper or some of the sketch papers, when you feel it, it feels slick and smooth. Those are the papers you're going to want if you're going to be using ink or a very hard drawing pencil like an H pencil. So if you're working with soft media, you want a soft paper with tooth. If you're working with hard media like a hard pencil or a pen and ink, you want a smoother, hard surface on your paper. Now, some papers are classified as cold press or hot press. Hot press is that very, very slick, hard surface, and that's especially appropriate for printing on. It holds a crisp graphic design very well. It's good for hard pencils and ink. Cold press means it's got that tooth on it. And it might even have a texture that you can actually see and feel like watercolor paper has. So I'm going to share with you, as far as papers go, a secret that many artists use, but they don't really tell you all the time that they're doing it. And that is, especially if you're just starting out, if you want to use a paper that's already got a little color to it, a little value to it, like a brown bag or even construction paper, which is nice and heavy, and it has a little bit of tooth. And what that does for you is it allows you to have a dark, and a light light, and the paper itself is the middle value. So you can develop 3 dimensions very quickly on a toned piece of paper, whereas on a piece of paper that's totally white, you can imagine how much shading you would have to do over your whole paper in all the different objects to achieve this nice middle value of the sheet of paper. All right, now let's talk about pencils and drawing implements. They're classified by number and letter. If it's a B pencil, that stands for black, and those are the charcoal and drawing pencils that are going to give you the blackest lines, and generally they're very soft, and these are the kind of implements that you want a nice toothy piece of paper on to hold all that nice black pigment. They're graded from 1 to up to 6 or 8. I have here, this is a 2B, which the smaller the number, the harder it is. So a 2B is kind of hard. This is a 4B. It's a little softer. You can see how much blacker it is. And the 6B is the softest, and that's even blacker. So if you want to get those rich dark darks, you want a high number B pencil, either in charcoal or graphite. And the pencils are the same exact system. It's B and the numbers. Then you have the H pencils, and H means hard. And those pencils are going to put a much softer line down. So even if you have a charcoal pencil, it's going to be much harder, and it's going to make a softer line than the black pencils. The B pencils are great on the paper with tooth. The H pencils do much better on the smooth paper. You can see it doesn't chew up the paper. When I tried to color with the H pencil on the soft paper, it's so hard, it's going to want to scratch and dig into the paper, whereas the hard finish will hold that H pencil line very nicely, and it doesn't cut in. So if you like the feel of a really hard pencil, you want to choose a smoother paper to go with that. The hard pencils last much longer because the lead is hard. It takes it longer to wear down. These softer pencils, as you color on it, you use up that point very, very quickly. It's going to come off onto the paper. So you can use either a white charcoal pencil, a white color pencil, or white chalk or pastel for the lights in your drawing. The chalk is the equivalent of the soft B kind of pencils. The color pencil and white charcoal is equivalent of the H pencils. It's a much harder line. You can't get as bright of a white with it. But it is a preference. You want to play around and see what you like to use. And then, of course, they're pens. Pen is going to hold better on the smooth hot press paper or smooth paper like copy paper. On a paper with a lot of tooth, it'll absorb the ink and it might also bleed. So it might be an effect you like, but just be aware of what it is. Now this is just a felt tip pen, and they're fabulous to draw with. Or if you like drawing with ink, you can get a precision roll ball pen like a Pilot. Pentel makes some nice ones that has a very, very fine pen point, and it operates from a cartridge of ink. So that's sort of a more high-tech version. As far as erasers go, this is a kneaded eraser. And as you stretch it, it will clean what you've picked up. So you can see it's picked up a lot of the value of the pencil, and I can just stretch and clean that. And it basically just distributes it through the eraser, and then you can get a clean spot again. Now eventually your eraser will absorb as much pigment as it possibly can. It gets dark and stiff, and it doesn't stretch very well anymore. And then it's time to throw that away. Kneaded erasers can be a drawing implement. So by that I mean you can see when I erased this, it kind of blended and smeared it.
Can't see it, darling.
So you can move it so that you can actually smear what you've done while you're lifting pigment. You can take the eraser itself and blend. You can form it to a very sharp little point, so you can pick up a very small area so you can pull out a highlight. So these are very flexible, and you can keep cleaning them and using them over and over, and then you can softly pick up a little bit of pigment in just one area if you want to lighten the whole area of your drawing. Some artists will put a bed of charcoal down all the way across the paper and then draw with their kneaded eraser by pulling out the lights, which is a very fun effect. Now, one of the pencils that I haven't shown you yet is this, what's called a sketch and wash pencil, and also this middle one called an ebony pencil. I happen to love drawing with ebony pencils because they hold a point pretty well, but you can also get a really, really good dark with it. If you hold your pencil at the back and let it swing like this, you can get a lot of control out of developing a very light value. And if you hold it with your finger on top like this, you can get a really dark, but holding it on its side, it will do a lighter to darker, and as you push, you can get a nice gradation that's harder to do when you've got the clutch of death grip on it like this. So experiment holding your pencils different ways and you can get different effects. The sketch and wash pencil, they're also graded. This is an HB, which means it's soft, but it's hard enough to hold a point. And this one is a 4B, which is fairly soft. You can see the difference in how dark and light it is. But the special thing about this pencil is that you can also paint with it. So once you've put the pencil down, you can get a little water on a brush and you can move it around and create almost like an ink wash with a little water. And then you can still go back in and add pencil lines. So it's a nice in-between of drawing and painting. And then oil pastels have evolved. They now make oil pastels that are water soluble, and these happen to be Crayola Rembrandt series, which I really like. They're very soft, they're not chalky at all, and you can get that same wonderful painterly effect by just using a little water, and you can pick it up and move it around, and then you can still blend and get different effects while it's wet and get a little more water. They're just a lot of fun to play with. So that's an introduction to types of paper and drawing media. I hope that you'll experiment and find something you like. Get a few of each, don't spend a lot of money, figure out what you like, and then run with it.